Previously, Su Ping entered the Dragon Realm Tower where he fulfilled the Great Dragon King's trials and received the inheritance of the Dragon bloodline for Umbrageddon. Now, Su Ping has made his way to Holy Light City to broaden his horizons. Trouble seems to follow him everywhere though, and he finds himself about to fight some rando to defend a newly made friend's honor. Confused by Su Ping's request to place some stakes on their battle, douche number 1 asks what he wants to bet. With a sinister glow shining from his eye and the aura of an all-devouring monstrosity, Su Ping says they should bet their lives. Douche number 1 breaks into a cold sweat and yells out, asking if he's crazy. In response, Su Ping lets out an amused chuckle and tells Ponytail he was just kidding. As Ponytail stares at him in shock, Su Ping says the loser just has to apologize. Ponytail's friend calls him by his real name, Feng Yi Liang, and makes fun of him for getting scared so easily. I'm sticking to Ponytail. Dude's too lame to get a name. Ponytail's anger rises with each word until he tells his friend to get lost and then turns on Su Ping. He asks how he could dare disrespect him like that and says the loser of their match will have to apologize and slap themselves silly. Well, hope his cheeks are ready then, cause we all know how this'll end. Su Ping's new friend, Zhang, tries to ask her mentor to smooth things out. Unfortunately, he's fully on board with letting the match happen. He even offers to be the referee, bamboozling Zhang. Throwing a sideways glance at her, he asks how beast instructors can fear taming others. Yeah, alright bro, cool it with the posing. You're not Aizen. The group moves to the arena where the 2 contestants are told to select any pet from the available ones. Su Ping studies them via the system and sees that all the pets are below 3rd tier and typically only have 1 skill. He does note, though, that their distribution is similar to the 5 elements. A few moments later, Ponytail and Su Ping have both selected their pets and step into place. Su Ping has gone with a Thunderstorm Beetle, possessing the skill, Metallic Shell. On the other side of the arena, Ponytail stands alongside a Blazing Hound with the skill Flame Devourer. From the sidelines, Zhang notes that the Thunder Beetle's shell can't withstand the Flame Devourer skill. Ponytail pulls on a glove with a cocky smirk, fully believing that he's won already. As he talks smack to Su Ping, the ref calls for the first phase, Beast Taming, to begin. In this phase, they're both given the favorite food of their pets. The winner will be whoever can get their pet to hold it in their mouth without eating it for 5 minutes faster. Zhang ponders on the 2 taming methods. One is the classic positive and negative reinforcement method. The other, which Ponytail is using, is to directly implant a command into the pet's mind with astral power. Turning her eyes to Su Ping, she notes that he hasn't done anything yet. Ponytail sees this too and figures that he doesn't know what to do. Before his gloating can go on though, the ref announces that the Thunder Beetle has been tamed and its countdown has begun. Shocked, Ponytail looks up to see a terrifying aura surrounding Su Ping and the Thunder Beetle obeying him out of pure fear. Turning to the ref, Ponytail demands to know how this isn't cheating. Talk about a sore loser. Someone call the ambulance for him. The ref is quick to tell him though that intimidation isn't ruled out as a taming method. Most people just wouldn't dare to attempt it. With that, Su Ping is awarded the first victory and Ponytail is just 1 loss away from total defeat. Ponytail decides to win no matter what in the battle phase as he can't tolerate losing to a supposed nobody. For the battle phase, both contestants are first given 3 hours to strengthen their pets using the provided materials. By the time his period runs out, Zhang is on the edge of her seat wondering how Su Ping will deal with the attribute disadvantage. The referee calls for the battle to begin and both sides' pets lunge at each other to attack. The Blazing Hound instantly catches Thunder Beetle's leg in its jaw and uses Flame Devourer to light it ablaze. Ponytail's pal comments on how he gave the Hound's paws a flame effect in record time, while Zhang just looks on in concern. On the field, Ponytail smirks smugly and claims that he's not a loser like Su Ping. Just then, the referee tells him he needs to train more. To his shock, the ref's statement is followed by a reversal of roles in the fight. The Thunder Beetle's metallic shell has been transformed into Ice Frost Shell and is weakening the Hound's flames immensely. As a result, the Beetle completely dominates the Hound and ends the match in moments. Meanwhile, everyone is shocked at how fast Su Ping managed to perform an attribute transformation with standard resources. Su Ping grins under his mask at Ponytail and tells him to fulfill the bet's condition. Terrified by what he's seeing, Ponytail decides to make a run for it like a total wuss. Discreetly, Su Ping uses his own power to make the loser trip and faceplant. As he tries to get up and run, the dude trips all the way off the field, his head getting more and more bruised. Behind Su Ping, Zhang just barely holds in her laughter at the sight. With things wrapped up, Zhang takes the chance to get a closer look at the modified Thunder Beetle. She takes notes on the attribute transformation and asks Suping how he did it so fast. He answers that he just chucked the right crystal at it and it transformed on its own. Huh, yeah, that's not total bullcrap at all. Completely fair and balanced. Hearing this, Zhang realizes that the fear of death triggered the beetle's full potential and caused it to transform. The top researchers in the field, Hu Lao and Bai Lao, have theorized about such a method, but it's been too hard to quantify the required conditions. She marvels at meeting someone who can just straight up perform it. When asked about the name of the technique, Suping says to call it the death training method. How creative. As they're discussing this, Zhang's mentor approaches and asks her to introduce him to her amazing new friend. Dude's glazing harder than a Krispy Kreme donut. Zhang bashfully introduces herself to Ping properly. Realizing she never actually did that, she's a third-year student at Heavenly Dragon Academy and a 6th-tier beast instructor about to graduate. The Aizen wannabe is Ding, the mentor for Class 8 of Heavenly Dragon Academy. When he asks for Ping's name, he introduces himself as Shu Kuang, throwing his student under the bus without a second thought. Ding continues to suck up to Suping, to which he just claims to be a small-time shop owner from a B-grade town in the subcontinent. He states that he came here for the upcoming Beast Instructor Association. Ding latches onto that info and tells him that the conference won't be for a few days yet. He extends an offer to Suping to join him for dinner as an apology for his students. Suping tells him not to bother though, as he'd rather wander around the city. Still not backing off completely, Ding gives him his mentor ID card and tells him to use it freely for accommodation, meals, and other privileges. Suping instantly suspects Ding for the generous offer and wonders what he's up to, but takes the card anyway. After Suping leaves, Ding reveals the card has a tracking function he can access. Then, he tells Zhang to abandon her thesis, which she's worked on all year, and start researching the death training theory, which he mentioned earlier. So he's a thief on top of being a general douchebag. Good to know, though she's crushed to drop her research. Zhang agrees when Ding basically threatens to have her fail until she does as he says. After that, Ding calls up a woman named Xiao Yu and offers her a research project that's nearly complete in exchange for investigating a specific outsider. Meanwhile, Suping has made his way to the Heavenly Dragon Library. Here, he uses a large chunk of Ding's funds to borrow a whopping 86 training manuals from 7th to 9th tier. He takes the manuals and moves to a private room he's rented, all the while ignoring the staff gossiping about his wealth and possible skill. In the private room, Suping spends his day going through the books. He's amazed by how rare they are and what incredible information they hold. Having stuck to practical work until now, he's able to grasp most of the concepts easily and doesn't have to face the boredom an average student would. Later on, when Suping is going to return the books, he bumps into a young woman. She helps him gather up his dropped books and carries them to the counter with him. There, she learns that he's a beast instructor who hasn't passed the certification exam. Upon hearing this, she tells him she's taking the 7th tier qualification exam and asks if he wants to join her. As Suping and the purple-haired chick make their way to the qualification exam site, they see a young man in an academy uniform running from what looks to be one of Thanos' minions. From behind him, a stern man with the look of a drill sergeant yells at him for running from a beast pet. He smacks the kid with his baton and sends him on his way, failing him. All around the examination area, other students can be heard speaking about the man, Instructor Yan. Evidently, he's the strictest of their instructors and regularly fails students in the qualification exam. When a couple of students turn to leave and mention the danger of being demoted, Suping's interest is piqued. He asks the girl about it, and she explains that unlike beast tamers, instructors are assigned ranks according to the assessment mechanism. You go from level 1 to 6 by passing the exam 6 consecutive times, and if you fail thrice, you get demoted 1 level. Then to reach 7th level and graduate, you have to pass the assessment for it and submit a qualified thesis. The levels beyond that are professor and veteran levels. Unbothered and calm as ever, Suping asks her how many times the assessment can be taken in a day. When she tells him it's up to the examinee's discretion, he doesn't even hesitate to step forward. Instructor Yan spots him and angrily calls him over. Since he's starting from the 1st level, Suping steps forward with no fear of demotion. Not that the dude would fail anyways. He's him after all. Encouraged by his action, 2 more level 1 rookies follow Suping's lead and step forward. Instructor Yan sizes them up and sends them to register their information at a panel. While the other students make fun of them, the purple chick uses an ability to try and spy on Suping's info. To her surprise though, everything around him looks jumbled to her, causing her to wonder if she's hallucinating. In reality, Suping is constantly projecting an astral turbulence barrier around himself that distorts light and conceals whatever he wants. With their registration complete, Suping and the other two students move into the examination room. There, they're each given the task of using astral power to change the color of an experimental mouse's fur. While the other two pump themselves up to do it within the 30-minute time limit, Suping just casually examines the mouse. That is one chunky boy. The hell they feeding these things? As the other students struggle to change their mice, Instructor Yan comes over and intimidates the living hell out of them. After brutally failing the first, he's just about to move on to the second kid when something else draws everyone's attention. Suping is crackling with astral power as it shoots all over the place from his palm. The instructors watching from the side are quick to mock him, as this is a method that normally causes more problems than anything. One of them recalls something from a more advanced book though and notes that this can actually work. It's just got a highly differing time and difficulty level. Just then, Suping's power sizzles down to a close and smoke wafts up from his mouse. Once it clears, everyone is shocked to see the results. His mouse has turned into a gay Elvis Presley. Wait, no. It's just rainbow-colored with a pompadour. My bad. Instructor Yan examines the mouse and explains that he hasn't just dyed the surface. He's used elemental fixation to alter the very nature of the mouse and make it a multi-elemental beast. As everyone balks at the ridiculous achievement, Yan stares at Suping and wonders just what kind of hidden gem this kid is. Suddenly, a grin appears on his face and he tells Suping that he's decided to let him be an exception. He's jumping straight to the 7th level assessment. A large cage slowly rises up from the middle of the examination area and reveals what the 7th level assessment is. Suping must tame and strengthen a 7th tier blood mist wraith within 12 hours. All around the place, everyone is shocked and horrified by this. The blood mist wraith is a demonic psychic beast that causes brain damage at best and permanent insanity at worst if not handled properly. This only cements their image of Yan as a ruthless maniac. Suping, however, remains unbothered. If anything, he seems amused as he tells Yan that there's no need for 12 hours. He'll have this done in 5. As soon as the cage is fully raised to ground level, the blood mist wraith launches itself at the bars, unleashing a wave of bloody energy across the room. The instructors present are all blown back by the overpowering stench of blood. Even Purple Chick is thrown off kilter as she recalls everything she knows of this beast. From its psychic attack power to its possession skill that eats people out from the inside, the thing is terrifying. Hang on, its possession skill does what now? Might need to get me one of those. Unbothered and aloof, Suping walks up to the cage, confusing even Yan. Suping maintains a bored expression and, as the wraith lunges for him with a possession skill, he dodges every last one of its swipes. Then, he leaps up to the beast's head, asks if it wants to taste the power of thunder and plants his palm on its skin. The terrifying visage of some kind of god of thunder appears behind Suping, completely horrifying the wraith. Just like that, the creature has been cowed and tamed, also traumatized if that insane look in its eye is anything to go by. With the taming part of his task complete, Suping moves on to strengthening the wraith. Thinking back, he remembers a method he read about to level up pets below 9th tier. Deciding to test it out, he grabs a soul bind herb and thunder orchid from the available resources. With these, he'll reinforce the wraith's weakness to electricity. Using his astral power, Suping purifies the two materials and then combines them. Holding the resulting essence in his hands, he tosses it at the wraith's head and initiates the strengthening process. The creature is overtaken by a white light along with the blue and purple essence from the resources Suping used. Suping remains fluid in his motions and takes control of the process, impressing Yan. Not long after that, the glow settles down and the wraith emerges as a completely new being, the Thunderclaw Soul Reaper Wraith. The bystanders are, as usual, left stunned by the cracked feat Suping just performed. The man himself maintains his casual attitude and explains that he incorporated the thunder element into the wraith's evolution, so it now has a resistance to the thunder and holy attributes. The trade-off for that, however, is that the thing is even more violent than before. The wraith angrily beats at its cage and slashes the bars hard enough to bend them. Everyone turns on their heels to get the hell away from it while Yan prepares to suppress the beast somehow. Before he can do anything though, the wraith pulls the bars apart with its fists and brings one down on the old man. As Yan's life flashes before his eyes, Suping unleashes a bit of his power and the wraith freezes in place, eye-widening in horror. The creature quickly retreats to its cage and bows down before Suping, trembling like a nudist in the snow. Suping walks out of the cage to the shocked gazes of everyone and asks if that counts as passing. Blown away by the young man's skill, Yan announces that he's even eligible to challenge the top beast instructors of the 9th tier. Right at that moment, an elderly man with an overwhelmingly pure aura of power descends from the sky above them. Yan bows his head and greets him as Vice President Bai of the Beast Instructor Association. When Bai simply tells Suping to follow him and flies away, Yan comes to the conclusion that they're master and student. Afterwards, in a large meeting room, Bai requests that Suping remove his mask. In an amused tone, he reveals that he recognizes him easily as the overpowered young shopkeeper Suping, instructor of Emperor Skelly, Umbra-Geddon, and Lunar Dragon. Suping removes his mask with narrowed eyes and asks Bai why he called him here. The old man just tilts his head towards him and asks another question. Has he heard of the Four Kings? Vice President Bai goes on to elaborate. The Four Kings are four great beast sovereigns, the most powerful beasts in the history of their planet, Blue Star. They are known as Virtual Malefics, Abyssal Sovereign, Sinistral Hex, and Transcendence Void. Yes, those are some goofy names. According to Bai, these sovereigns are highly intelligent and have destroyed a countless amount of city bases in the past. They're large enough to flatten entire 100-meter tall city walls with just a step. These beings are the ultimate enemy of the people of Blue Star. To summarize, each of the Four Kings holds power that reaches the Sky tier. This shocks Suping, as that's the highest tier of the legendary triple tier. Even when he goes all out, he himself is only at the initial stage of the legendary C tier. He asks Bai why he's never heard of these beasts attacking any cities if they're so formidable. Bai explains that the Four Kings were wounded by an ancient human emperor in the past. Sacrificing his own life, this emperor sealed the kings below the abyssal caves. Now, young legendary guards are sent by the four great districts to watch over their seal. Something Bai says confuses Suping though, and he asks if the abyssal caves have been breached. Bai assures him that the city bases would be on high alert if that were the case. However, despite the caves appearing normal, the wasteland has seen an abnormal migration of beasts in recent times. Suping is reminded of the strange and seemingly random attack on his train when he was traveling to this city. Bai is extremely concerned to learn that civilians are already in danger because of this situation and decides to strengthen security in some sea bases. This abnormality is exactly why he called all the skilled individuals he could in this Beast Instructor Conference. Suping is surprised to learn that the Beast Instructor Association has such a wide scope of responsibilities. Bai explains that this is in the nature of beast instructors. As opposed to beast tamers, instructors place heavy focus and emphasis on the ability to control. They are the ones who maintain order, the ones who bestow power. Suping asks Bai why they haven't sent someone to investigate the wastelands, if this is the case. Bai tells him that he has ordered all the major cities to send exploration teams out, but because of how vast the wastelands are, results will be very slow to come in. He asks Suping if he has any leads on the matter now that he knows the details, but Suping is at a total loss as well. Without any further clues, there's nothing he can do either, so he decides to focus on getting stronger for now. To that end, he asks Bai where he can learn the Beast Instructor's awakening technique. The old man just chuckles at him though and comments that young people nowadays sure are bold. Cool it, Gramps, your boomer is showing. He goes on a mini rant about how only those with 9th tier qualifications may access and learn that secret technique. Suping sarcastically asks him if he isn't at that level. Bai responds that he definitely is in terms of raw power. In fact, he could very well become the second person in history to simultaneously be a beast tamer and instructor of the highest level. With that, he'd be both a legendary and spiritual tier. At Suping's surprise question, Bai reveals that the first person to do that was none other than the ancient human emperor who single-handedly fought and sealed away the Four Kings in the first place. Single-handedly, my booty. Dude wouldn't have had to sacrifice himself if that was true. Excited by the prospect of reaching such a level of power, Suping tells Bai there's no time to waste and to let him learn the awakening technique. Bai remains firm in his refusal though and tells Suping he must follow the rules and write a 50,000-word thesis to get certified as a 7th tier. Then he'll need to write 2 more of those for the 8th tier and then 4 more to reach 9th tier. Holy crap, that's a lot. Maybe even more than a lot. I don't know. I'm not great at math. Growing frustrated, Suping asks the old man to just let him take a shortcut since they're in time of crisis. However, Bai enforces that times of crisis are exactly when the rules must be followed. If a strong were to be prioritized above the rules, the weak would have no room to grow. I don't really get it, but that sounds wise, so I'm with the geezer on this. With his specialty being in fighting, Suping is horrified by the prospect of writing 7 different thesis papers. Luckily, he remembers that Zhang is supposed to be pretty good at this and decides to pay her a visit to ask for help. Unknown to him, the girl has been in a downward spiral since Ding made her abandon her research and is currently struggling to figure out the death training method. At the same time as all of this, Ding is showcasing just how much of a scumbag he is. From abusing his power to get students to do his bidding to straight up abusing them when he's mad about not getting more info on Suping. The only thing he's able to learn from Xiao Yu is that Suping was taken away by Bai. He mistakes this for a recruitment attempt from the Beast Instructor Association on a hidden golden egg and decides to make a move as well. Ding calls in a brute by the name of Longshan and tells him to persuade this golden egg into joining him by any means necessary. For the 9th tier with the title of Lion King, this is a pleasure. After his discussion with Bai, Suping steps outside and opens up the system's item shop. For now, he plans to stock up on beast taming bracelets. It might be pricey, but having a 10% chance to catch a beast king with no effort is unmatched in value. Dude totally spams Ultra Balls and Pokemon. Once that's done, Suping decides to find Zhang and opens up his holo map. Right as he's looking up her class address, an extremely beefy arm comes to rest on his shoulder from behind. Surprised but unafraid, Suping just curiously waits to learn what the hell this is about. The guy trying to intimidate him asks if he just spoke to Elder Bai. Suping throws a non-answer at him and tells him to step aside. Annoyed, the man looks down at Suping with contempt and proceeds to release his astral power. A golden energy surges around him, catching the attention of everyone in the busy market area. People are just beginning to pity Suping when out of nowhere, the buff dude finds himself being flipped through the air and slammed into the ground back first. Suping has performed a perfect shoulder throw and has the brute at his mercy. You saw it here first, folks. Size doesn't matter. As the crowd comments on what just happened, Longshan the brute gets back up with a smirk on his face and energy flowing out like a broken faucet. He declares that he won't be careless again and summons his battle pets. Not 1, not 2, not even 3 but 4 crimson golden lions. These are 9th tier superior bloodline beasts known as the King of Beasts. What's more, they've got dragon wings because why not, I guess. Longshan reveals his pets are cultivated with a 1,000th concentration of the bloodline of the 100-winged abyssal dragon emperor himself. He puts on a show, claiming that no one can survive being bitten by all 4 of these creatures. In response, Suping just tells him to brace himself and summons forth his own 4-legged companion, Umbrageddon, now known as the Great Yan Celestial Dragon Hound. The golden beast practically smacks the lions down like misbehaving children and completely dominates them before roaring out to the skies. Longshan senses the terrifying aura of Umbrageddon and realizes that he's up against a beast king. Suping mocks him and asks why he isn't laughing anymore, to which Longshan starts claiming that this is all a misunderstanding. Yeah, because that's totally believable now. Not long after that, something sinister is taking place in the 8th class instructor's exclusive experimentation building. A 5th tier wild pet known as a spiritual dragon whelp is injected with an unknown liquid by Ding himself. Instantly, the little creature starts mutating grotesquely and screaming in pain. As the whelp bangs against its cage, Ding turns to see Longshan has returned. Only, he's not conscious. The man's body collapses to the floor, revealing Suping standing behind him. When Ding tries to play innocent, Suping crushes his card in his fist and reveals he knew about the tracking feature in it. He turns to the dragon whelp and asks Ding how his students will react upon seeing how their instructor enhances assessment pets. Ding simply laughs at the question before attacking his 2 lackey students and dropping them to the ground. Despite this, they continue sucking up to him, brainwashed into believing he knows best. Ding simply tells Suping to look closely. Just then, practically a whole army marches into the building and surrounds Suping. Suping just sighs at the man's corrupt nature and begins to understand why Bai is so adamant about following rules. Ding starts ranting about how no matter what happens here, people will believe him over Suping due to his higher instructor tier. With all his men surrounding Suping, Ding smugly tells him to join them. He goes so far as to claim he can make Suping the strongest beast instructor in history. Alright, is he trying to be Aizen or Orochimaru? Pick a lane already, douchebag. Before he can finish his tirade though, Suping dashes forward, grabs Ding by the mouth and slams his skull into the solid earth without hesitation. Every word out of the man's mouth makes him sick. As Suping stands there with Ding's face held in his palm, pressed down into the ground, the gathered mini army charges towards him, yelling for their master. Suping looks up for a moment, only to tell them to get lost if they value their lives. To accompany this threat, he flares his power for a moment, causing them all to back off out of sheer fear. Seeing everyone stepping back, Ding telepathically sends out the message to everyone that whoever kills Suping will be awarded with a year of training. 3 years if they catch him alive. But the whole army. 3 particular men get hyped up upon hearing this. These are the 9th tier instructors known as the Flame Sovereign, Night Demon, and Lone Star. Man, their naming sounds like it was done by a teenager trying extra hard to sound edgy. The three of them open their dimensional tears to summon their pets. One of them is calling out to the others to attack together when a thin slash suddenly appears on the side of his neck and arm. Little Skelly has just rushed past them with his blade outstretched. Blood spurts like a fountain from his three victims and hits Ding's face as he lays on the ground with his eyes widened. Suping repeats one more time for everyone else to step forward if they wish to die. Sure enough, the instructors all begin making a run for it little by little this time. Between their fear of Little Skelly after recognizing him from TV and their hidden distaste for Ding, it's really a no-brainer. Kinda like Ding himself, the idiotic fella. Ding realizes that the guy he's been gunning for is none other than the real Suping. He bows before him with trembling hands and begs his forgiveness, offering up everything he has in exchange for being spared. Suping crouches down to his level and asks him a question. If he just kills the instructor, won't he get everything in his possession anyways? Asking the real questions for real. Suping lifts Ding up by the scruff of his neck and tosses him further away, in the middle of the gathered crowd. Speaking out to them all, he states that they should know of his pet store if they've heard who he is. He tells them Little Skelly is his personally trained beast to let them know just how effective his methods are, as they all realize that Suping is far better than the foolish instructor on the ground. He opens a scroll with a sly grin. From within, he pulls out a bunch of identical blades and tosses them to the ground. He goes on to say that anyone who wishes to leave now is welcome to do so. The rest who wish to join him must prove it. The gathered men quickly decide that turning on Ding will be more than worth it. Not to mention none of them really like him anyways thanks to his self-righteous and corrupt ways. And it doesn't really help his case when the guy starts hurling insults at them from the floor and demanding that they help him. Really? How dumb can you be? The men slowly advance on Ding with the blades dropped by Suping until he's got nowhere to go. One of them takes the leap and drives his blade through Ding's torso. From there, it's a free for all as everyone lunges at him with blades drawn. Shortly after that little massacre is done, the men present Ding's identity token to Suping. In response, he tells them he can't stand the title of master, so they should just call him Boss Ping going forward. Next, he asks if they all know what's happened here. Seeing as they've all got Ding's blood on their hands, all is one. They kneel before Suping and declare that they weren't here today, and they haven't seen a thing regarding Ding, let alone Suping. With that, all that's left is for Suping to have Blaziken burn away his body completely and no trace is left of the day's events. Meanwhile, Zhang's anxiety and downward spiral caused by Ding are getting worse and worse by the minute. In a large meeting room at Heavenly Dragon Academy, the old man at the head of the table is expressing his anger at the absence of one person, Class 8's instructor Ding, who he warned not to be late this time. Upon asking his secretary to find him, the man learns that Ding's communicator is giving no response and he's been missing since yesterday. The old man, the principal of the academy, asks his secretary to find his tracker, only for her to tell him that it's missing as well. The principal is confused as to how a 9th tier instructor could just go missing without any signs of what happened. Around the meeting table, some other instructors quietly gossip about the situation. One believes Ding's finally got what he deserved for how he treated his students, while the other can't accept a 9th tier would even be attacked, let alone killed. Yeah, about that, who wants to tell him? Growing weary and concerned, the principal activates a skill of his own and uses astral power to search for Ding Chunfeng. According to the skill, there's no trace of Ding's aura in a 100-mile radius. With his own conclusions drawn, the old principal calls in some hooded dudes and tells them to thoroughly investigate everyone who's had contact with Ding in the past few days. He tells them that any resistance is to be met with execution. Hang on, what now? Is he even allowed to do that? Right as he gives this order, the man receives a call on his communicator. He accepts it and sees that the caller is Elder Bai. The hologram of the older man floats above the meeting table as he tells the principal not to look into Ding's disappearance too closely. Confused, the principal concludes that the person Ding provoked is someone of incredible authority on the same level as Bai. He tells Bai that he'll follow his command and beg forgiveness, since Ding is a terrible person who is bullying students every day. The switch up is crazy, bro. Have some dignity. The principal claims that he should be thanking Bai for dealing with a terrible man, if anything. Bai is wholly unimpressed and asks why he hasn't disciplined Ding if he was so well aware of his abuse of power. Having no answer, the man bows down and blames the slow corruption of the morals of 9th tier instructors. How is that an answer to his question? The hell? As the call ends, Bai tells the principal to remember his words and warns him about a coming storm. Outside, the academy students are gathered around a notice board that informs them of Instructor Ding's early retirement. As such, a class assessment will be taking place. Outstanding performers will join the other 7 heavenly classes, while underperformers will be moved down to earth classes. Everyone there starts worrying about being demoted, as the earth classes are said to be for losers who are even made to do clean for the school. Jong in particular is standing there with a hollow look in her eyes. Some of her bullies notice her and start making fun of her for her research paper being rejected by Ding. They even tell her that she's unworthy of the heaven classes, so this is a good thing. Jong's friend jumps in to defend her and gets the bullies to leave, but they don't stop their barbed jabs at Jong even then. Jong thanks her for what she's done, but tells her that they should separate now or she'll be targeted as well. The other girl pleads with Jong not to listen to the bullies and reminds her that she's the one who taught her beast taming before. If anything, those guys are jealous of her capabilities. Jong's already had her spirit crushed though, and she insists that she's not like that anymore. Luckily, her friend isn't taking no for an answer and drags her to register for the class assessment anyways. Over at the library, Suping is returning his latest batch of borrowed books at the counter when he hears a commotion behind him. As he turns to see what's going on, he locks eyes with Jong, and the two freeze in place. Suping notices Jong's haggard appearance and asks what's wrong. Her friend explains that Ding rejected the thesis she spent months working on and assigned her something stupid called training the dead or something like that instead. As she makes fun of the supposedly stupid idea, Suping plays along, not mentioning that it's something he's actually done. Jong just barely stifles a chuckle at his response, confusing her friend. I'm gonna call her ZF now. Jong's friend is a mouthful. Suping asks them if they know someone who'd be willing to help him write a thesis and doesn't mind a joint signature. Jong just looks down in sadness and tells him she'd love to, but they've got reassignment classes to worry about. When Suping shows interest in that, the girls explain the situation to him. Suping is surprised that the sudden disappearance of a 9th tier instructor hasn't caused more of an uproar and wonders if someone took care of things in the background. ZZF tells him that higher-ups from the Beast Instructor Association supposedly took away Professor Ding for investigation, and that's why people are quiet about it. Suping realizes that Old Man Bai must be responsible and figures he can just pretend nothing happened. Putting that aside, he asks the girls about the reassignment assessment and how hard it is. They tell him there's only a 30% success rate, and ZF tries to encourage Jong. Unfortunately, the girl's eyes remain blank and she says she feels like a total failure. Suping remembers the heinous acts he saw from Ding and understands that Jong is deeply traumatized. Before he can do something about that, he asks ZF what the Earth character classes are like. The girl tells him she was actually in them before and the living conditions are terrible. They're made to do physical labor and the academy only trains them every once in a while. Hell, each professor there is in charge of thousands of students, so nobody gets any real training done. If it wasn't for Jong's training, she'd still be down there. Jong, of course, insists it was her own hard work, but the fact remains that she helped the girl train. Zia tells Suping that people do whatever they can to get out of the Earth classes, but it's extremely rare to meet someone willing to guide them. His curiosity is stronger than ever. Suping asks the girls if they can take him to see the Earth classes after they've signed up for the assessment. Before we get to that, take a look at this map. That's where the heavenly class students and staff live up there. The greenery-filled skyscraper rich mini-city up there. And down there is the Earth area where everyone else lives. Look at it. It's a dump. Suping and the girls are walking through this dump of an area later when a couple of garbage trucks come barreling down the road. They stop a little way up and unload their contents on the street. Heaps upon heaps of dead beasts and their remains. Almost instantly, the students of the Earth area scramble over to the pile of corpses and start looking for stuff they can use. One of them grabs a dog coated in poison and claims he can use it if he just washes the fur. Another claims it's his lucky day when he finds a pig that's still alive. With this, he can practice actual pet taming. Inside the garbage trucks, one student from the heaven area expresses his pity for these poor sods who have to pick from their scraps. The other guy doesn't bat an eye though and says it's their own fault for not working harder to begin with. Yeah, alright dude, cool it. We get it. You're a butt. Suping is lost in thought upon seeing the terrible conditions here, prompting ZF to ask what's wrong. Jong is the one to notice the look in his eye and says that he cares a lot about this kind of thing. Suping responds that Heavenly Dragon Academy touts itself as the best of the best. A place like this shouldn't exist if that's really the case. He asks if things have always been like this. Jong answers that they have since she's been here. Meanwhile, ZF reminisces about how Jong would stop and teach her training methods when she used to come to drop off the pets. It's because of that she was able to move up in life. Suddenly, a student goes flying past the two of them looking beaten to hell and back. As soon as he lands, a Heaven class student starts stomping on and kicking him without any remorse. He calls back to his friend, who walks up with a baseball bat and a cruel look in his eyes. As he brings it down with full force to beat the abused student, a sudden rush of air moves past him. As he looks down, he sees the bat is gone from his hands. Behind him, Suping stands with the thing firmly in his grasp. The student asks Suping who the hell he thinks he is. He replies that he's just a passerby and asks if he finds it fun to bully an unarmed person. This causes the Heaven students to break out in laughter. The bat guy grabs the beaten student by the hair and claims that he's getting beat willingly. It turns out they promised to teach him training methods for the reassignment assessment if he does this. This ain't even just preying on the weak anymore. It's a whole new level of cruelty. Good thing Suping's here to hand his butt to him. Between the bully's smug expression and ZF and Zhang's horrified ones, Suping can figure that the bullied kid won't actually get squat. He turns to the girls and asks if they're willing to teach him the training methods offered by the bullies. The bullies are, of course, infuriated by this and tell him to watch what they're saying. Well, the bat dude's lackey says that at least. He's just watching like a cuck. Suping offers to make a bet. If he wins, they give him the kid they're bullying. And if they win, well, the spoiled little bully is quick to tell them they have to take the kid's place getting beaten. Zhang and ZAF are both immediately apprehensive of Suping's decision, both of them claiming that Zhang can't compete in her current condition. The rich bully Xiao instantly recognizes them as Class 8 students and starts badmouthing them along with his lackey. Suping just tells Zhang to trust him when he says a spoiled kid like him could never beat her. Besides, didn't she say she wants to be able to save people? Seeing the poor kid being abused, Zhang sets aside her own fear and tells Suping that she'll do it. The fire finally returns to her eyes, even if only a little. Xiao continues trash-talking and tells them to follow him as he knows a good place to battle. Soon, the group have made their way to a rundown back alley area where everyone looks like a 2-bit thug waiting to sink their jaws into them. Suping lets loose some of his aura to drive them away and reassures Zhang that no one will so much as touch her here. Putting her faith in Suping, she nods and heads into the ring. The rules of this match will be the same as usual. 1 point to whoever tames their beast first and then another to whoever wins the fight. First to 2 points wins the whole thing. With that, the beasts for their battle are wheeled out, looking far more menacing than anything from the Heaven classes. Zhang gulps at their appearance, while Xiao smirks with all the smugness of a cat in a rat colony. With this being an illicit battleground, the beasts here are the most chaotic and dangerous ones that were rejected or thrown out of the Heaven classes. On her side of the ring, Zhang lets out shallow, panicked breaths as she's reminded of the injuries she suffered in the past from such pets. All around the ring, the crowd throws jeers at her, calling her a coward. Zia says that Zhang has suffered several traumas before and yells that Suping shouldn't have allowed her to compete. Excuse the crap out me, woman. How is that his fault when you waited till now to say that? Absolutely brain-dead behavior. Suping is unaffected though and tells her that Zhang is trying to overcome those traumas right now. Zidef insists that he has no idea of her situation or condition as a total stranger, to which Suping still gives no reaction. Better man than me. I'd be yelling right back at the idiot by now. Suping asks her if she's heard the story of the fish and the jar. When she expresses her confusion, he tells her about a fish that was trapped in a glass jar. Unable to see the glass, it kept trying to swim out, but after hitting its head so many times, it began to believe the outside world was fake and unreachable. After that, it quietly lived in the jar, not trying to escape anymore. Right now, Zhang is the fish, and the jar has just been removed. All that's left is for her to take the first step and swim out. A sudden overwhelming presence full of strength presses down on the group, shocking Xiao and ZF. Zhang has a resolute expression on her face as the visage of a dragon floats above her. On the other side of the ring, Xiao starts talking trash to suppress his sudden fear and the beast taming stage begins. As he works on his bear hog thing, he thinks about how Zhang will never succeed here since the beasts are so resistant that you have to know the exact technique. To his shock though, Zhang interrupts his internal monologue to announce that she's already done. Xiao is stunned while ZF just smirks and says the old Zhang is back. Both of now you want to act supportive. With both contestants taming complete, the beast training phase begins. Suping notices that the ring's fence is electrified and will likely knock out any pet that touches it. He's considering conveying this to Zhang but stops when he notices the resources she's going for. It seems he doesn't even need to do that. Once the training phase is complete, Xiao sends his violent brown bear forward to crush Zhang's pet. Said pet, a blue bristle beast, bravely takes on the bear's charge even as the furry beast tackles it all the way to the fence with its lightning rush skill. The bristle beast slams into the fence and electricity arcs all over the place. Xiao is sure he's won now since he transformed parts of his bear to be resistant to lightning attribute attacks. ZEF is disgusted by his methods, but Suping just smiles and tells her to watch. Sure enough, Zhang's pet reveals its own method of lightning resistance in the next second. It activates the rock-type armor she's granted, directing all the electricity into the ground. Then, with its advantageous position, the bristle beast hits the bear with a rock-smashing palm attack. In a single moment, the bear's head is slammed into the ground, creating a mini crater and getting Zhang the win. Xiao has lost. With her victory officially announced, Zhang turns to Xiao and demands that he honor their bet by handing over the student he was bullying earlier. Xiao's goon is shocked by how things have gone, while the student in question is overjoyed that he doesn't have to be beaten anymore. God, that's sad. For his part, though, Xiao decides to do what any typical spoiled rich kid does when they don't get what they want. He throws a tantrum like a baby. He pulls out a baton and rushes at Zhang's back to beat her into the ground while internally screaming that he can't lose to a woman. Yikes. Yes, we can add misogyny to the list of reasons he sucks. Right as he gets close to Zhang, Suping releases some astral power to deal with him. This turns out to be unnecessary, though, as the next second, Xiao has been tackled to the ground by a monkey. The students watch in shock and Suping in interest as a giant of a man walks up to them. He speaks to Xiao of how it's indeed important to take decisive measures in the face of defeat, but to act violently after losing is too much. ZF tells Suping this man is known as Senior. He's the oldest student in the Earth class and the recognized leader of the whole place. Xiao yells to be released from his spot on the ground and threatens to cut his class's pet supply to the Earth area if this continues. Despite his position of total defeat, he starts talking about his family and how rich he is and how he can ruin them all. Yada yada yada. Just a whole bunch of cliché rich kid threats. In response, Senior has his monkey slap Xiao across the face hard enough to cave his cheek in. Alright, I love him. Senior just looks down at him with disdain and tells him that regardless of the Earth class's philosophy of doing whatever they have to, they still have a sense of right and wrong. Besides, a good number of them have suffered at his hands like today's victim already. With that said, the monkey is given the go-ahead to beat the stuffing out of Xiao. Soon after that, Xiao changes his whole tune and begs for Senior's forgiveness. The large man just tells him to get lost and never show his face in the Earth class again. ZF and Zhang thank the man for his help, but he brushes them off and tells them he should be thanking Zhang for all she's done for his people. She expresses her regret for how Xiao will undoubtedly cut their pet supply now, but Senior is quick to reassure her. They've always had little resources to begin with, they can adapt to this too. He even goes on to tell Zhang that if she fails the reassignment assessment, he's reserved a great spot for her to live without any trouble in the Earth class. In the middle of this, Suping apologetically cuts in to ask Senior if the Earth class has money. Senior gets the wrong idea and starts squaring up to Suping. He tells him that those in the Earth class are the ones who just barely scraped together the money to come to Heavenly Dragon Academy, and they work hard for all they have. If Suping wants to touch that money, they'll crush the boy. Zhang quickly intervenes, though, and tells Senior he's got the wrong idea about Suping. They explain to him that he just wants to check if the people here can afford his pet rental services. Senior sighs and tells him it doesn't matter either way because the Academy holds a monopoly over all pet services here. Regardless, Suping tells him he can get pets in as long as there's a store he can use. There's no limit on the number or level of said pets either. Senior doubts his words but figures there's nothing to lose, so he takes him to their region's luxury commercial store. Said store turns out to be a little more than a shack. What's worse, the old man refuses to sell or rent it as he claims it's a family heirloom. And so, Suping does the one thing that works more often than not. He calls up the Starry Skies Chancellor, asks him to get him a specific building in the downtown area of this city, and then offers it to the old man in exchange for his store. Naturally, the old coot agrees instantly, forgetting all about his family heirloom tripe. That's the power of money for Ya, I guess. Too bad, shows too much of a douche for it to work in his case. Now that he owns the shack of a store, Suping walks in and tells the system to include this store in his pet store franchise. With that, it's time to get to work. In the office of Class 4's instructor, Xiao steps up to said instructor with bandages and bruises all over his body. He claims that the Earth class students did this to him for no reason and threatened to do it again if he goes there in the future. The instructor sees right through Xiao's lies, but he's no saint himself. Between the influence Xiao's family has and the low value of Earth class students, he decides to just go ahead and do what Xiao wants anyways. He tells the boy that a lesson will be taught to the Earth class tomorrow and sends him on his way. Once he's gone, the instructor, Shi, calls a holo meeting of all the instructors and informs them that his class will handle the disposal of all waste pets for the second half of the year. Abuse of power incoming, folks. This one's a classic. Sure enough, the garbage trucks holding the Earth class's resources dump them all in a pile the next day, and before anyone can make a move, the heap is set on fire. Even the pig that the student from before managed to recover and nurse back to health is being dragged away to be burned. Okay, what in the hell? That's actual murder. They're not even turning it into cutlets or anything. The Earth class instructor, Elder Lei, gets on his knees before she and begs him not to do this. With the Beast Instructor Conference about to begin, this will take away any chance the Earth students have of being recognized by the association. She doesn't care about any of that though and asks them how else they plan to pay for the injuries Xiao suffered. The boy yells at Elder Lei that one of his students is responsible for this and he must come out to apologize. Seeing no other option, Elder Lei calls for this student to show himself, but nobody in the area knows who it was. Enraged, Xiao grabs a random student and threatens to beat him bloody if Senior doesn't come forward. Coincidentally, the man in question shows up at just that moment, carrying a large box on his shoulder. He takes one look at the situation and asks Lei why he's kneeling here like this. Lei angrily tells him what his actions have resulted in while the students yell at him to run away. Xiao, smug as ever now that things seem to be in his favor, sends his goons forward to beat Senior. The big man's sick of him by now though, and as soon as the goons close in, he punches one of them into La La Land. Then, as the others come at him, he opens up the box on his shoulder to reveal 3 whole healthy pets. After they handle the goons, Elder Lei asks where in the world he got those from. Senior gives him a cocky grin and tells him things have changed for them now. They don't need to care what the heavenly classes think of them anymore. They have access to top-tier resources of their own. A few moments later, Senior leads them all to the luxury commercial store that previously belonged to the old man. Here, the Earth class students are freely able to buy top-tier pets at a severely lowered price. Not only that, they even have access to all sorts of high-quality pet food and resources. Enraged by his loss of leverage, Xiao insists that this must have been achieved through some illegal means like smuggling. With that said, he orders his men to smash the store and confiscate every pet in sight. Unfortunately for them, their march towards the storefront wakes up Umbrageddon from his slumber next to it. What they believe to be a statue reveals itself as a terrifying beast when it lets out a roar that all but cripples them. Amidst this sudden chaos, the store's door opens and a figure walks out. Xiao instantly recognizes him with no small amount of shock. For his part, Suping simply smiles and asks what they're doing around his watchdog. Despite the clear threat posed by Umbrageddon, Xiao continues to demand that instructor she send out his guards to fight it. Opposite from them, Suping stands casually without a worry in the world and waits for them to act. Unlike his student though, instructor she has more than 2 brain cells to rub together and realize he's out of his depth. He instantly changes his tune and addresses Suping politely. He tells him that he received a report about his student being beaten maliciously and calmly requests an explanation. From the side, Senior chuckles at the shift in mood and mocks Xiao for it. Serves the little twit right. Despite this, Xiao deludes himself with the belief that his instructor's trying to set a trap of some sort and waits for him to take his side. Only that doesn't happen at all. In fact, she happily declares that Suping's side is quite reasonable, and since both parties were beaten, they're pretty much even now. All that's left is for Xiao to apologize for his sneak attack on John. From the other side, Suping and Umbrageddon stare at him with an unimpressed gaze as he goes on about fairness. On top of everything else, she declares that the medical expenses of the student beaten by Xiao will be covered by his family as well. Senior takes the chance to mock Xiao again and tells him to hurry up and apologize already. Infuriated and losing faith in his instructor, Xiao uses his communicator to call in someone from his own family. In just a few seconds, 3 large men fly in from above and stand in Xiao's defense. Instructor Lei recognizes these men as titled powerhouses and despairs as do the others. She, however, tells Xiao that he should back down and apologize now while he still can. Instead, Xiao tries to convince him to work together so they can take down Umbrageddon. While everyone else is panicking about the powerhouses, Suping sees the true threat. Those 3 are just side characters. The true powerhouse is up in the sky above them. The one in question descends and praises Suping for being able to sense him. He is the elder of the Xiao family, Xiao Si. The younger Xiao recognizes his grandfather and panics at the idea of him realizing the truth of the situation. Before that can happen, he feeds his grandfather a bunch of hooey about how the people in front of them have ruthlessly bullied him. As this is happening, Suping is distracted by a system pop-up. The system has detected a threat to his branch store here. In order to protect it, he's being issued a side quest to make a name for himself in the city within 1 month. As a reward, he'll be given a 50% off coupon for the Chaos Spirit Pool. Once he's finished reading the pop-up, he notices the ground rumbling around them. Up in the sky, Xiaoxi has summoned an astral power palm. With this, he plans to crush the Earth-class folks in the area for bullying his grandson. Come on, Bramps, you seem like a chill dude. Use your brain here. On the ground, Xiao brags about how his grandpa's in 9th tier in both breeding and beast taming. The strongest man in their family for the past 100 years. Wait, why is he on the ground? Won't he get crushed too? Elder Lei begs Xiaoxi to hear them out, but the old man isn't having it. He brings down the palm to crush them all. Before it can get to them though, a golden dragon bursts through and crushes the palm, shocking the Xiaos. Umbrageddon has revealed his true form. At Su Ping's command, the dragon slaps Xiaoxi out of the air and into the ground like a fly. Everyone watches in awe as the old man rises from his fall and asks how the hell his grandson got involved with a master like this. Su Ping steps forward and asks if he's willing to talk now that he's calmed down. He spots Xi at his side and recognizes him as the Class 4 instructor. Taking the chance to jump in, she asks them to let him explain the whole matter to Xiaoxi. By the time he's done, Xiaoxi is enraged with his grandson's dishonorable actions and orders his men to take him away for the appropriate punishment. His legs are to be broken, and he's to be banished for a minimum of 5 years. Yikes, he might deserve it, but that's brutal. Once his grandson has been dragged away, Xiaoxi bows his head before Su Ping and asks how he can make up for the misunderstanding that has occurred. All around them, everyone is shocked to see the arrogant Xiao family's strongest member lowering his head. For his part, Su Ping just walks past him while introducing himself as Su Ping in a whisper. As he's moving away, he tells Xiaoxi to figure the rest out himself. Unseen by anyone else, the system window appears and shows his new quest's completion progress at 47%. Now that the matter with the Xiao family is resolved and Su Ping's store is on track to raise the Earth class to unforeseen heights, all the students and even instructor Lei thank him wholeheartedly for his actions. Senior and Zhang even express interest in working for him at the store, but Su Ping tells them to focus on their studies. He's used to working alone anyways. Seeing their downtrodden expressions, he throws them a bone and says he might call on them to look after the store if he needs to leave on business. The next morning, Instructor Shi and Xiaoxi arrive at Su Ping's store and offer him 4 pure gold bars as an apology for the previous day's events. Su Ping completely ignores the gold though and tells them to leave if they're not interested in buying anything. There's shrewd businessmen and then there's downright cold ones. Guess which one he is. Inside the store, Su Ping shows some Earth-class students the latest pet food he brought in last night. As they all study it and try to figure out what it is, Zhang alone is able to recognize it. This is the purple Yu-Wed dragon ginseng. Both Shi and Xiaoxi are blown away by this revelation. That's a pet food that's been extinct for thousands of years. Su Ping tells Zhang that it costs 330,000 astral coins and it's a non-negotiable price. Before she can ask for it, both the big shots behind her pipe up and beg Su Ping to sell it to them instead. Su Ping just brushes them off and tells them to come back tomorrow, since his policy is first come first serve. Unwilling to give up the opportunity of a lifetime, both men get into something of a bidding war for the ginseng anyways. Xiaoxi pledges half his family's annual profit while she offers the rights to this research institute for 5 whole years. Despite the crowd's awe at these offers, Su Ping stays aloof and asks them what they even plan to do with the ginseng. She explains that he wishes to turn it into an object of worship as an ancient resource and become a top figure in the beast training world. Xiaoxi, on the other hand, will turn it into a multi-billion project by exploiting its commercial value. After hearing them out, Su Ping asks Zhang what she plans to do. Zhang tells him that if she could get the ginseng, she'd use it to revolutionize the field of study that deals with restoring extinct bloodlines like the purple blood heavenly dragon. Unfortunately, as she explains, that kind of thing is incredibly difficult with a very low success rate of only a single unique ingredient. Upon hearing that, Su Ping smirks and asks them when he said he only has one. He tells them to wait a moment and steps into his back room to pick some more. Half an hour later, Su Ping steps out of the room with his coat covered in blood and 2 more ginsengs clasped in his fists. She and Xiaoxi practically lose their minds at this shocking development. If not then, they definitely lost their eyes at least. When the 2 older dudes beg him to be gentler with such a precious resource, Su Ping casually tells them he has a ton more in his bag. She and Xiaoxi are both more shocked than ever and wonder once more just who the hell Su Ping is. Xiaoxi suddenly dives to the ground and starts cleaning some blood off Su Ping's shoes. He smugly scoffs at Shi and claims that he feels no hesitation in degrading himself for the benefits Su Ping can offer. Su Ping just tells him to get the hell up before people get the wrong idea and tells them he'll sell each of them the ginseng. Additionally, he also brings out 3 more extinct pet foods and offers them to Zhang. Illumin Herb Elixir, Jade Dragon 7-Colored Orchid, and a Nether Soul Reaper herb. While these would definitely help with her goal, she apologizes to him and tells him she can't afford all that after buying the ginseng. Just then, the system informs Suping that multiple financial deposits are being attempted to his store, rather than accepting them. Suping turns to Shi and Xiao Si and tells them to pass on the gifts they brought for him to Zhang. Zhang is as shocked, if not more so, than the others upon hearing this. Suping just confirms that he wants the resources Xiao Si promised to be given to her and Shi's research institute to be transferred to her for the period he promised. Both men are confused by this though, claiming that he can guarantee much more profit by himself thanks to his family's status and wealth. Unknown to them, Suping is reading a system pop up that's warning him against trying to trick it to increase his own profits. Yeah, not gonna lie, that has me stumped too. Not sure what it means. Suping addresses Shi and Xiao Si, slowly raising his voice as he goes on a scolding rant about how they only value money and power, with no care for those below them in wealth and status. Finally, he bellows at them, asking if their actions live up to their positions. Both men are humbled by his words and vow to be better from now on. In the background, all the Earth class students are rejoicing at someone finally standing up for them and saying the things they've always wanted to. Little do they know, Suping had every intention of taking their money. The only reason he's not doing it is because the money from dividends can't be turned into energy with the system, so it's as worthless as toilet water to him. Turning his attention away from that, Suping mentally speaks to the system and explains just how much they'll benefit in the long run by allowing Zhang Lingtong to take charge of the Purple Blood Dragon Reincarnation Project. Not to mention he'll be able to slap his name on the theses she writes and use them to raise his instructor tier. With nothing else to say, the system goes quiet and lets him do as he wishes. The next day, Zhang walks into her class with ZEF to collect her things before heading out. There, her old bully, Feng Yi Liang, or as we know him, Douchey Ponytail, tries to bully her. With her confidence restored thanks to Suping though, she ignores him and walks past without batting an eye. Frustrated, he goes to her desk and grabs one of her books before demanding that she apologize if she wants it back. Right as he's beginning to enjoy it, a much larger man appears behind him, snatches the book from Ponytail and tosses him to the ground with a single arm. As he escorts Zhang out, Feng and his friend are confused. That was their old instructor's bodyguard. Why the hell is he protecting Zhang? Instantly, the two scumbags jump to the conclusion that Zhang has an indecent relationship with Ding and is taking advantage of the perks that come with it. Without a second thought, they decide to follow her and get some pictures as blackmail material. Instead of Ding's place though, they end up following her to Instructor Shi's Research Institute. Sneaking after her despite their confusion, the two spy on the inside of the building. When they spot a whole crowd of Earth-class students there, they decide that the vermin must be trying to illegally take over the place. Before the Ponytail can snap any pictures though, the bodyguard from before appears behind him and grabs his arm. Still not realizing they're the ones in danger, Ponytail tries to tell the bodyguard that Zhang is committing illegal activities. She overhears the commotion and comes over to check on it. Ponytail starts mouthing off about how he has proof of her actions and he'll get her kicked out if she doesn't listen. Annoyed and sick of his crap, Zhang just sighs and pulls up the agreement of transfer of the Institute usage rights and resources signed by both Shi and Xiao Si. With their leverage pulled out from under them like a rug, Ponytail and his friend are left speechless. And if they're speechless now, they're completely rendered mute a moment later when they learn that she's working on the Purple Blood Heavenly Dragon Reactivation Project. If she succeeds on a project like that, she won't need to take any classes to graduate, which is way more than can be said for these two losers. The end, for now.